And I thank you for our president. I thank you, Lord, for our leaders. I thank you, thank you, thank you.
That is Donald Trump's spiritual advisor, Robert Morris. And now, as reported by the Christian Post, Pastor Robert Morris confesses to moral failure after a woman claims he began molesting her at age 12. Through the years, Morris has admitted that as a teenager, he preyed on young girls.
I was very sexually immoral as a teenager. And it started early in my life, and it was very easy for me.
But it's clearly been hard for Morris to admit details of his sickening behavior until now. Robert Morris, founding pastor of Gateway Church in Southlake, Texas, which attracts an estimated 100,000 worshipers weekly, has confessed to inappropriate sexual behavior with a young lady more than 35 years ago while he was a young pastor, after a woman accused him of sexually abusing her for multiple years, beginning when she was 12. When I was in my early 20s, I was involved in inappropriate sexual behavior with a young lady in a home where I was staying. It was kissing and petting and not intercourse, but it was wrong. This behavior happened on several occasions over the next few years, Moore said in a statement to the Christian Post after Gateway Church was asked about the allegations. So, as a young man, Robert Morris admits he was a pedophile, period. And to be clear, the young lady he refers to in a statement was 12 years old. Quote, in March of 1987, this situation was brought to light and it was confessed and repented of. I submitted myself to the elders of Shady Grove Church and the young lady's father. They asked me to step out of ministry and receive counseling in freedom ministry, which I did. So Robert Morris, a Donald Trump spiritual advisor, was a pedophile. But when he confessed, repented, and walked in purity or whatever, he was given the green light. For the Gateway Church, which now has an annual revenue stream of $300 million, the face of the church, Morris, just needed to be rehabilitated. Quote, Pastor Robert has been open and forthright about a moral failure he had over 35 years ago when he was in his 20s, and prior to him starting Gateway Church. He has shared publicly from the pulpit the proper biblical steps he took in his lengthy restoration process.
So I looked for the girls that would be the most susceptible. And I learned how to spot this in girls. I looked for girls that did not have a good relationship with their father. I learned to spot that. I looked for girls that were insecure. And I don't know, now I look back on this, I can tell I did it. It wasn't like a plan that I had, but I could spot this. And I asked the Lord after I got saved, God, what was the root? Why? You know, they said I was blessed. I know I wasn't blessed, I was cursed. Multiple affairs. And I don't understand this, God. And so what was the root? What was the open door in my life?
The open door, Morris has said, is redemption. Believe in Jesus and everything will be fine. Well, Morris's accuser is not fine, with the pastor and his church describing her, when the abuse started, as having been a young lady. Cindy Clemshire, now in her 50s, says that when Morris began abusing her in 1982, she was 12 years old. She says the sexual abuse continued for 4.5 years. Quote, it went on for many years. He says there was no sexual intercourse, but he did touch every part of my body and inserted his fingers into me, which I understand now is considered a form of rape by instrumentation. I was an innocent 12-year-old girl who knew nothing about sexual behavior. The Donald Trump campaign is not commenting on Robert Morris, and to be fair, there are people who have done many awful things and have then been rehabilitated and go on to become productive law-abiding citizens. But Morris continues to harm the community around him, only now he does it on behalf of Donald Trump. Morris has stated from the pulpit that the 2020 election was stolen. That's right, a Trump spiritual advisor, a self-admitted pedophile who serves on Trump's faith advisory board, has engaged in the big lie. Well, all of this underscores that even on issues of faith and morality, Donald Trump is a con man. And Trump himself underscored that in a recent visit to Detroit, Michigan. Donald Trump visited a black church, portrayed crime as out of control, and bashed immigrants.
We're going to seal the border and we're going to stop the invasion of your jobs and the invasion of our country. It's an invasion of your jobs. They are taking away your jobs when they pour in. Crime is most rampant right here and in African-American communities, and more people see me and they say, sir, we want protection. We want police to protect us. We don't want to get robbed and mugged and beat up or killed because we want to walk across the street to buy a loaf of bread.
But the latest data shows that violent crime in Detroit has dropped to its lowest level in 50 years. Also, despite Trump campaign claims that the church was filled with black worshipers, video of the event shows the church crowd was mostly white.
He rented a church. He bussed in people who are wearing not church clothes, but rally clothes. They are obviously not locals. They are obviously not attendees. You don't have to do that if you have support. And then he told a series of preposterous lies. Detroit has recovered this year, is having a magnificent turnaround. First population growth in half a century. Lowest number of homicides in half a century. That notorious derelict train station, I broke into it about 10 years ago to tour the ruins of the train station, and it was a tragic thing. It's just been restored beautifully, and it's about to reopen. Detroit is now a magnet for attracting new artists. It is a great American turnaround story. So when you have to tell so many lies, when you have to bus in people, it tells me you probably don't have a lot of indigenous support in that town.
But of course, the Trump campaign folks insisted that the inner city black church support for him was overwhelming.
Biden's not doing anything like that. Look at the contrast of just this weekend. You got Donald Trump in Detroit talking to 8,000 people, and then at a black church, of course.
8,000 people? Again, here is the video. Local authorities estimated the crowd at 200. So why would the Trump campaign lie? Why would Donald Trump lie? There is a theme that runs through all of this. Donald Trump and his followers often seem to have no moral or ethical core. They can say whatever they want, do whatever they want, because it's all for the greater good of getting Donald Trump elected. And once Trump is in power, people of faith will be rewarded. Their faith. And their faith leaders will be part of the Trump administration, tearing down the separation of church and state as part of the effort to turn the United States into a Christian nationalist theocracy. And trampling on the Constitution won't even be the worst of it, because we know of at least one Trump spiritual advisor, Robert Morris, who has admitted he was an adulterer and pedophile who preyed on young women and took advantage of those who were the most vulnerable. That's the kind of spiritual leadership that will be welcome in a Trump White House. It will be a White House brimming with fake Christianity, moral indifference, and worship only of Trump. And everybody who is vulnerable to being taken advantage of in our society will be on their own. By the way, Donald Trump keeps demanding President Biden take a cognitive test, and this appears to be another example of Donald Trump projecting his own problems.
I think he should take a cognitive test like I did. I took a cognitive test and I aced it. Doc Ronnie Johnson. Does everyone know Ronnie Johnson?
Yeah.
Ronnie Johnson.
The name of Trump's former White House physician turned U.S. Congressman is Ronnie Jackson.
Wait, what?
Not Johnson.
Does everyone know Ronnie Johnson, congressman from Texas? He was the White House doctor.
You know,
No, actually, they don't know him. They don't know Ronnie Johnson.
Who's Ronnie Johnson?
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Carol Mio, who wrote, "What mental acuity demonstrated by Trump? The American people call for Trump to take thorough psychiatric evaluations." Wouldn't that be fun? I look forward to reading your comments about a Donald Trump spiritual advisor admitting to molesting a 12-year-old girl. I'm David Schuster. Thanks for joining us.